What are you doing?
Outro?
Oh! Do you want me to... Hello everybody, I know this is not Rachel from Garden for Cheap, this is Megan, her daughter. Now, I've had a lot of requests for her lives to show everybody my brownie recipe and my cinnamon roll recipe. The cinnamon roll one's gonna have to wait, we still have cinnamon rolls left over and I don't want to make too many. As for the brownie one, we finished those within 4 days, even though we made 15 brownies in that one pan. So I have my ingredients list right here in case you want to bake along with us. So normally this recipe calls for an 8x8 inch metal brownie pan. I didn't have that. I have an 8x11 glass casserole pan, which I've been using for brownies. And it works just as well. You just have to cook the brownies a little bit longer. So for the base recipe, if you're using the 8x8, just have all of the ingredient amounts that I'm using, because I have to double this recipe in order for it to make a proper brownie. At least the brownies I like. I like the really thick brownies. If you like your brownies on the thinner side, you could still, in theory, do the regular amounts, but I don't recommend it. I like my thick, chewy brownies. So you're gonna need 2.5 cups of granulated sugar, 10 tablespoons of butter. I know it sounds like a lot. If you use stick butter, it's a stick and 2 tablespoons, which will have like little tablespoon marks on it, or it's a little over half a cup of butter. And you're gonna need 4 large eggs and 2 extra yolks. The extra yolks will help make the brownies super chewy. Then you're gonna need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1.5 cups of unsweetened cocoa powder, 2/3 cup of vegetable oil, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. This one's weird. This is the weird part. It is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Hear me out. It works. I promise you, it works. It makes the brownies just like on the boxes at the store. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now you can add 1.5 cups of chocolate chips if you'd like. We do not have chocolate chips, so I personally didn't add them, but they're in the original recipe. So if you want to add those, go ahead and add some extra chocolatiness to it. So we're going to bake that in a 40-minute time span after everything is done at 350. Now if you're baking this in the metal 8x8 pan, you're going to want to bake it for 30 minutes at 325, because the metal pans get a lot hotter than the glass, like I have said. You don't want to burn your brownies. You don't want to overcook your brownies. You want to keep them nice, soft, and mushy. But still cooked all the way through. Still cooked all the way through. So you can grab your ingredients and come join me in the kitchen. So now I'm just measuring out my butter and my sugar. Sorry about the whole click-clacks of the dog's paws, but
It is what it is.
it is what it is. I'm going to use 2.5 cups of granulated sugar. Hopefully there's enough in here for 2.5 cups. I do have another bag. Pour the rest of it.
That would be easier for short people.
Yeah. Especially since we get the big bags of sugar. That's because we go through a lot of sugar. 2 and... cameo by Cole. Gonna put in, that's the 2 tablespoons, and this is the 8, making 10 tablespoons of butter that you'll need for this recipe if you're doing the double. If you're just doing the single, then you'd only need about that much butter, so that's 5 tablespoons of mine. There. You're gonna put this in the microwave for about a minute until the butter is completely melted. So, you just want to microwave it long enough in order for the butter to melt. You don't want it much longer, because then the sugar will burn. And you don't want that. We're not making caramel today. We're making brownies. Now you can use a fork, you can use a whisk, whatever suits your fancy. Now that that is mixed together, we're going to add in the eggs. So I have 4 eggs here with 2 extra yolks. That'll make the brownies extra chewy. Just add those in. Now I did want to use all of the same kind of bowl, but I didn't have enough bowls in the right size to accommodate for all the ingredients, unfortunately. I didn't have enough bowls and they weren't the right sizes to begin with. So we're just going to stir this up until it's fully combined. You're going to get a nice, like, sugary paste. Just make sure it's all kinds of put together. Don't want to see no separation. Right now, we need to add in the 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And we need the cocoa powder as well, and that oil. I know, so much at once, you can barely keep up. It's one of the reasons why I don't like using extra bowls, but you know, it is what it is. For the sake of the video. And here is my 2/3 a cup of oil. Straight into the mixture. Stick these all in here because I'm going to be doing dishes later. And you're going to mix this until it is combined. Now, the reason I had the sugar and the butter in this bowl is because the biggest bowl that we're going to have to use, because this bowl's not big enough, does not fit in our microwave. I've tried. If it did fit in our microwave, we could do this all in one bowl. But if you have a microwave big enough, you can just do this all in one bowl and not have to dirty up another dish. But, you know, to each their own. We have a tiny microwave, so we have to do it this way. Look at that dark color coming through, guys. It's so pretty. Now, I do use 1.5 cups of cocoa powder instead of, I think it was, oh, how much is it usually? 3/4 a cup. 3/4 a cup. I have the recipe written right here. I actually had to write this one down in a book because I loved it so much I didn't want to try and find it again online. And I do have a bookmark, but I have a lot of things bookmarked, so you know how it is trying to dig through your bookmarks to find that one page that you don't really remember the name of. This is coming out nice. It will take a little bit of finagling with the dry ingredients in. That's mostly due to the egg. But these will make some of the chewiest brownies. Yeah, don't question my technique. It's like the, what's it called? This is basically the hand mixer, but literally a hand mixer. I might go ahead and use, I think I'm going to go ahead and switch to that spatula because it makes folding this a lot easier for me. Look at that nice gooey chocolate. I wouldn't recommend tasting it yet because, you know, same vanilla, but I'm talking to the same generation of folks that probably ate raw cookie dough like myself. Anyway, this is one of the reasons why I like my spatula. I can scrape the sides of the bowl and fold in the ingredients much easier, much better. Scraping the sides of the bowl, make sure that none of the ingredients go to waste. Alright, there's just a couple more cocoa powder clumps that are refusing to get added in. It happens sometimes, you just gotta beat them into submission. Alrighty, now that all the ingredients are mixed together after a long while of mixing, probably could use an electric mixer and make it go by a little bit faster, but to each their own. We're going to transfer this into this larger bowl over here to make the rest of this process a heck of a lot easier. Let's bring this back over here, push that over there with the rest of the dirty dishes. And now we're going to mix in the rest of our dry ingredients. So we got 1 cup of flour. You don't want to use too much flour. In the original, they only use 1/2 cup. Of course, me doubling everything, I use 1 cup. And yes, I had to use a sour cream container because, like I said earlier, I ran out of fancy bowls to use. Got 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Always sticks to the containers. And I know this one sounds really weird, but 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Trust me, this is part of the process that makes these brownies just how they look on the boxes at Walmart. Don't judge me, I'm going to use my finger to get the rest of this cornstarch out because it doesn't want to come out of the container. There we go. Now we're going to fold. You don't really want to stir, you want to fold in these dry ingredients. You don't want to have air bubbles because it makes the texture in your brownies uneven. And Alright, that is everything combined. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to pour this into our 8x11 glass baking casserole pan. Now, one of the reasons why they say not to use glass is because glass doesn't get as hot as metal, and it takes longer to cook the brownies. I personally have all the time in the world all day. It only takes 10 extra minutes to cook, and you can leave it out on the counter and let the pan cook the brownies the rest of the way through, but you still want them to be moist and doughy in the middle. You don't want them to be like firm all the way through like a cake. That kind of defeats the purpose of the brownie. So here I'm going to try and finagle this to where y'all can kind of see it. Almost done scraping this out. It's got a little bit of extra batter. There we go. Set this to the side. And I'm gonna even it out so you don't get brownies that are bigger in one area than the other. It all bubbles out. It helps even it out even more. Of course, that's your little chocolate lollipop. And like that, you stick this in the oven at 350 for 40 minutes in the glass casserole pan. For the metal tins, I would do 30 minutes because you don't want to overcook these. Then you can stick a knife or a fork in the middle of it, and if it comes up with moist little chunks, you're good to go. Just let them cool down completely before you eat them. Because, you know, nobody wants third-degree chocolate burns on their tongue. So, hope y'all enjoyed that. We can come back later for the reveal of the brownies, but it's kind of late, so we'll probably just say au revoir for the night or record into something else in the morning. We'll check back in the morning. What are you doing?
Outro?
Oh! Do you want me to say the whole, this is like a cake thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I had done goofed, and I had done left these brownies in the oven a little too long. And this is what happens when you leave them in too long. Instead of turning out like a brownie, they kind of turn out like a chocolate cake. Now, I'm sure they still taste wonderful. They're a little too hot right now to try them. But they are more cake-like instead of brownie-like. The brownies will have like a light brown crisping on the top, and then when you cut into it, it's a dark brown chewy chocolate in the middle. So, we'll try again in a couple days, or maybe in a day. We'll see how impatient I get. Because I want my perfect chewy brownies and not a chocolate cake. And this is what they're supposed to look like. You can kind of get in here that nice kind of gooey center here. And you can see in the pan too. Now they might crumble apart. Gotta let them cool down a little bit more. I didn't. But this we actually had to do a second batch. So with this batch, I actually didn't cook it for nearly as long. Actually, I think I cooked it for 25 minutes. It really just depends on your oven. I've noticed our oven tends to cook a little bit hotter than other ovens, it seems. But typically, even when I know how long it should typically bake, I still babysit the oven.
So how long did you bake this one for?
I baked it for 23 minutes or 25 minutes instead of 40, and they came out a lot better.
And not like a cake.
And not like a cake. So, my bad. Substitute that 40 minutes to about 30, depending on your brownie preference. I like mine a little extra gooey, so I can't cut mine out at 25 minutes. But if you want yours a little bit more firm, keep it in the extra 5, and hopefully they'll still be chewy.
Alright. So that's it?
That's it.
Alright.
So if you like this video, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And tell us what you want us to make in the next video, or what you want to see next. Have a great day.